Globally, foodborne illness causes an estimated 2 million deaths and leads to a health toll comparable to that of malaria or tuberculosis. 98% of this burden falls on people living in poor and middle-income countries. A serious food safety problem affecting much of the tropics is contamination with toxins produced by dangerous molds. Aflatoxin, a common fungal toxin, is known to cause cancer and liver damage and is also suspected of contributing to stunted growth in children. Aflatoxin is especially common in peanuts and maize, both important staple foods throughout sub-Saharan Africa. In addition to the impact of aflatoxin on health, contamination can lock smallholder farmers out of valuable market opportunities. Agricultural commodities fetch higher prices when exported to richer countries, but when food doesn't meet safety standards, it's rejected at the border. Local food processors serving the emerging middle class in places like Kenya and Ghana are also increasingly testing for food safety. In order for smallholder farmers to remain competitive as markets modernize, they will have to find ways of meeting food safety standards. Researchers at IFPRI, the University of Georgia, and the University for Development Studies in Ghana have been testing ways to achieve this goal through randomized field studies.
We tested 3 different approaches to reducing aflatoxin contamination in peanuts in the northern and upper east of Ghana. The first approach was to have agricultural extension agents train farmers on aflatoxin prevention. The second approach combined the same training with the provision of plastic taps on which farmers could dry their nuts. Traditionally, farmers dry their crops on the bare ground or floor. This allows contact with the toxin-producing fungi which resides in the soil. Drying instead on a plastic sheet or tap can prevent contamination. Finally, a market incentive approach was tested. Under this approach, farmers were paid a higher price for their groundnuts, only if they tested below the acceptable limit for aflatoxin. All farmers had a chance to purchase taps through the project. The research team tracked sales and visited farmers to directly observe their use of taps for drying as well as other practices.
Noel Mugo, of Innovations for Poverty Action, managed a similar project in Kenya.
We looked at the willingness of farmers to use 2 technologies. One is the drying service technology and the other one is the use of hermetic bags for storage. This project is similar to another conducted in Ghana, where some farmers were given free access to the technologies, whereas others had to pay. We also tested the impact of a price incentive to farmers in adoption of the technologies, that is the drying service and also the purchase of hermetic bags. Farmers are well informed about aflatoxin, its causes, effects, and also prevention. They have had great interest in the technologies, especially if it translates into better prices for their maize in the market.
We see some common results across the studies in Kenya and Ghana. In both settings, the vast majority of farmers dried their crops on tarps when these were provided for free. 2/3 of Ghanaian farmers and almost 80% of Kenyan farmers used the tarps provided. In both countries as well, the proportion of farmers that used recommended practices was far lower when they had to invest in these themselves. In Ghana, only 13% of farmers used a tarp when they were trained on aflatoxin control and offered tarps for sale. This was more than in a control group that didn't receive training, but really can't be considered a success. Similarly, in Kenya, the vast majority of farmers used the dryer when it was offered for free, but demand plummeted when farmers had to pay for the service. Beyond these similarities, the results show that one size does not fit all. The price incentive had a big impact in Kenya, but didn't do much in Ghana. In Kenya, only 17% of farmers were willing to pay the full price of the drying service without the price premium. But with the premium, 58% were willing to pay. In Ghana, this incentive had little impact on the practices of the average farmer. And in fact, very few farmers took us up on our offer of a price premium. In Kenya, farmers who produced food only for their family's consumption invested more resources in food safety than those producing for the market when no incentive was present. Offering a market incentive brought the practices of the market-oriented farmers to a similar level. Charity Mutegi is a scientist at the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture in Nairobi, Kenya.
So the next step is to provide aflatoxin products to the farmers, because from the very many tests that we have done on field basis, it has been found to be very efficacious in terms of reducing aflatoxin content, up to over 90% reduction in aflatoxin levels. But really, this is one of the unique projects where we're trying to see, yes, the technology is available, but what about adoption for the farmer? Are they affordable? Does the farmer have faith in them? So it's a very important step in trying to move technologies from the laboratory to the smallholder farmer who's really affected by the problem of aflatoxin.
In this next phase of research, farmers will be linked up with processors willing to pay a premium for safe, high-quality maize.
So our mission at the Cereal Millers Association is to provide safe and affordable food to our consumers. We've actually invested very heavily in equipment and training our staff just to build capacity for our mills. We're really afraid of the risks of aflatoxins. We realize it's a real risk, and we've seen so many statistics, attended training sessions, and we just want to ensure that really our food is safe for our consumers. We deal with aflatoxins on a daily basis. Sometimes we have to reject up to 50% of the trucks that come into our mills because of the high levels of contamination. It costs us a lot of money to ensure that this food is safe, because we test every truck that comes in, we try to test every bag that comes in.
By cutting out the middleman and linking farmers directly to buyers willing to pay a good price for high-quality, safe food, farmers will earn higher incomes and be motivated to invest in food safety. Some of this food will be consumed by the farm families, improving their own health. Approached in this way, increasing global attention to food safety standards could represent a boon rather than a barrier to smallholder farmers. Our ongoing research will test at scale whether markets can be harnessed to increase the incomes and improve the health of smallholder farmers. But while price incentives can be important, especially for market-oriented farmers, there are limits to how much farmers are willing to invest in food safety. Subsidies for technologies to reduce food safety risk are also likely to be an important piece of the puzzle.